Alessandra gazed at Edgar, her mouth dry and her thoughts scattered. She struggled to form a response, eventually breaking eye contact as tears threatened to well up. She quickly blinked them away, determined not to cry. It had been so long since anyone had called her beautiful without sneering behind her back. Even her own father had never been able to look her in the eye and offer a compliment about her appearance. In her youth, she had loathed her beauty, for it had been a tool for her father to showcase as though she were a mere doll to be sold. When she had been his favourite, she had despised her face, and she had despised it even more when it was marred. Alessandra didn't know what she wanted from her appearance anymore, but after years of hiding herself away, she longed to feel as though she were not a monster. At that moment, Edgar had given her exactly that, something she hadn't realised she desired until now. "Thank you," she whispered softly, the words escaping her lips just loud enough for Edgar to hear due to their close proximity. She placed her hands at her sides, determined not to feel anxious around him any longer. "Did I just make you fall for me?" Edgar released her hair, stepping back to gaze at her face clearly. "How can I fall in love with you when I hardly love myself?" Alessandra replied, her voice steady. Like Edgar, love had always been foreign to her. She saw no reason to love herself, and so she was certain she would never fall for Edgar, or anyone for that matter. "Lord and Lady Collins, may we enter? We are here to serve your meal," a voice announced after a knock at the bedroom door. Edgar sighed, his annoyance palpable at the interruption, but in truth it was probably for the best. There had been much said that needed to be processed, and this conversation could be continued later. There was still so much about Alessandra he had yet to uncover, and one night was certainly not enough to do so. Edgar was skilled in many things, but he didn't know how to make Alessandra love herself. That, perhaps, was something she needed to work through on her own, with him offering quiet support from the sidelines. "Come in," he called toward the door. "It would be improper to keep them waiting any longer, or your stomach will start betraying us," he added with a teasing smile, attempting to shift the mood. Alessandra forced a small smile, and as Edgar turned his attention to the servants entering with the food, she quickly wiped away a tear that had managed to escape. "Do not disturb us for the rest of the evening. Inform Alfred that any visitors at this hour are to be turned away. Anyone who disobeys this order will be dismissed," Edgar commanded as the servants placed trays of food and drinks on the table in their room. "Is that understood?" "Yes, Your Grace," they replied in unison. "They've sent up some of my finest liquor," Edgar remarked, lifting a bottle from one of the trays. "I reserve this for special occasions. Are you a drinker, Alessandra?" "Yes," Alessandra replied, rising from the bed to see what they had brought. "As long as it's not bitter, I'll drink it. I've never had enough to pass out." She stopped herself before she could mention Mario, not wanting to stir any discomfort. She had felt at ease with Edgar, and she didn't want to spoil it by mentioning Mario or revealing that she had once drunk with him. "With the amount the cook gave you?" Edgar raised an eyebrow, his sharp gaze seeing through her attempt at evasion. "Who else would have given you alcohol if not him? You've learned quickly to avoid mentioning his name. Come, sit," he said, pulling out a chair for her at the table. "Where will you sit?" she asked, noticing that there was only one chair at the table. "Well, if you wish to sit on my lap, you would be more than welcome," Edgar joked, settling into the chair. Alessandra faltered. The Duke smiled. "I normally use this table to work after Alfred has chased me out of my office. I was only teasing. You may sit wherever you please," he added quickly, hoping to alleviate her tension. If that is the only way we can both sit at the table, I am okay with it," Alessandra said, looking everywhere but at him, her face flushed. Edgar froze, surprised by her response. He placed his hand over his face, suddenly unsure of how to handle the situation. He had wanted Alessandra to become more comfortable around him, but now that she was, he wasn't sure how to proceed. He could act as a gentleman and suggest they move the table closer to the bed so she wouldn't have to sit on his lap. But where would be the fun in that? With a sly smile, Edgar sat down on the chair and patted his lap, daring her to follow through with her suggestion. He wanted to see if she had the courage to face this moment. She had initiated it, after all, and now it was up to her to see it through. Alessandra took a deep breath, swallowing her nerves. I must get it over with, she thought, her resolve firming. To both of their surprise, she walked quickly toward him, her feet carrying her as though on their own. Edgar's amused expression made it clear he expected her to back out, but she was too close to him now to turn back. Slowly, with her heart racing, she sat on his lap. Alessandra sat gently, avoiding Edgar's eye. This is more than I anticipated for tonight, Alessandra, he said, his voice low and amused. I did not expect you to be this bold, but I must admit, I am enjoying it. It's not too late for you to get up before you succumb to your nerves. Edgar kept his hands at his sides, deliberately refraining from touching her until she indicated she was comfortable. It seemed almost pointless, considering she was sitting directly above something that might soon have her running for the hills. He suspected she had already noticed. I am quite hungry, Alessandra replied, avoiding him and reaching for a plate. If her mouth were full, she would be unable to respond to Edgar's teasing, which only made her more anxious. She placed a second plate next to hers so Edgar wouldn't have to stretch far to reach his food. Alessandra quickly picked up her knife and fork to cut into the meat prepared for them. Feed me, Edgar said from behind her. You are not a child, Alessandra retorted. There was no way she would sit on his lap and feed him at the same time. Sitting on his lap was all she could endure for now. My hands are full, Edgar replied, feeling her startle when his hands rested on her waist. It was far too easy to provoke a reaction from her. In his eyes, this was child's play. Alessandra wouldn't last long if he escalated his teasing. Please release me. If you're not going to eat, it's pointless for me to remain on your lap, Alessandra said, trying to rise. However, as she moved, her husband tightened his grip around her waist. Edgar, she protested. I'm sure neither of us will make a mess. One of us could have sat on the bed. Why didn't my shy little wife consider that? Edgar mused, enjoying his control over her. I'm far too comfortable for you to leave now. Though I will give you a little advice. You should stop moving so much before another problem arises. Edgar could feel his body's response to her every movement, and trouble seemed inevitable. I'm not staying on your lap just because you enjoy it. You should have suggested the bed earlier. When does your teasing end? Alessandra wiggled, trying to escape Edgar's hold, but when that failed, she pinched his hand in frustration. You're only tempting me, Alessandra. A little pain never ruins the fun. Eat, and then I'll release you. Who knows when you'll be brave enough to sit on my lap again? Edgar asked, thoroughly enjoying her anger at being unable to escape. With her back pressed against his chest, they shared warmth against the cold breeze, needing the fire less than they realized. Yeah. Alessandra sighed, knowing she couldn't win against someone as strong as Edgar, who was determined to make the most of this moment. She blamed herself for falling into the trap he'd set without realizing it. The sooner they finished dinner, the sooner she could escape to bed. Tell me, did you enjoy turning that room into your painting space? Alfred told me about it, Edgar asked, offering a change of subject. I did, she replied, relieved. Having a separate space for my paintings feels much better than cluttering my bedroom. But I'm running out of space for everything you've bought. Can I have more shelves put in, or perhaps boxes to organize the room? More shelves would be better, Edgar answered. Speak to Alfred tomorrow. If you wish something done, you don't need permission unless you're plotting against royalty. Are you really not going to feed me? He added, noticing she'd begun eating again. Alessandra's words contradicted her actions, and Edgar was beginning to grow impatient with the delay.
Wait, that's not the end. You've just had a free taste. Now get the full story on the Pocket FM app, link in description. Check out our next video and playlist, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.